what is journalism? This is one of those questions which a lot of people tend to ask, or maybe they don't. But then when you ask it, everybody seems to have different answers. Welcome to ELI10, where we ask some basic questions, some simple questions which have some very big answers. And to answer our question, our simple question, we today have a very special, and I would call her a super independent journalist, Sakshi Joshi. Hello, Sakshi.
Hi, Meghnad. I really love this introduction. I can feel it.
And there's a reason why I call you super the independent journalist. I will come to that. But before that, let me introduce our union leader of spectators for today, Antariksh Takkar. Hello, Antariksh.
Namaste ji, namaste. कैसे हैं आप? I realized that since I'm from Mumbai here, I'm the only one from Mumbai. I'm the only one who cannot have electricity problems during this interview.
Yeah, बस वहीं पे लाइट नहीं जाएगी. मैं तो यूपी में हूँ.
So we are joining you from Noida, South Delhi, and Bombay. So that is how this podcast is made. That is amazing. Yeah. This is what I do always, Sakshi, right? Because you haven't met Antariksh and Antariksh hasn't met you. You just saw him, he just saw you, and you were like, "Kya ho raha hai yahan pe?" So let me introduce both of you to each other, right? So Antariksh, this is Sakshi, right? We met in Uttar Pradesh once while we were covering the elections, right? And also I follow her YouTube channel very closely because and I call her a super independent journalist because I found out in Uttar Pradesh, and this is crazy, and I keep giving this example. This one is like a one-woman army, right? She shoots things on her phone. She goes to location, shoots things on her phone, edits it on her phone, makes thumbnails on her phone, and then uploads it on YouTube on her phone, captions it, descriptions, everything, and runs her entire channel from her phone, right? While on the road. And that is
that's only during elections.
But you do, right?
Yeah, I do that. I just only during elections because I don't have time to go back and then edit in my room and then do all that.
Yes, and the thing is, I noticed also because of that, her frequency of videos is also crazy, right? Because all other journalists like us noobs who were there, we were recording on a camera, then we were going, editing and putting it out 2 days later. This one just recorded, edited and put it in the car while we were driving from one place to the other. And we were like, what? What just happened?
Oh, man,
so that's actually...
You have to, after you're done with the introductions, you have to give me like a minute to guess what I think the topic is going to be after you introduce the two of us.
Oh, okay.
That would be interesting also.
Yeah, sure. But Antariksh, if you didn't notice, I already asked the question. Yeah. You were not paying attention, were you?
I was thinking of independent journalist. YouTube channels. Kahan jayega ye?
Okay, fair enough. So Sakshi, you missed the question completely, which is great. So you can guess it now, right? Okay, so this is Antariksh Takkar, right? He is a stand-up comedian. And he is my colleague at IVN podcast where I work now.
Wow.
So yeah, that is Antariksh. And Antariksh is a regular on this other podcast we have called Cyrus Says. And he's a regular panelist. And Antariksh, what else do you do? Do you want to say more?
I also produce comedy shows on the side. I handle creative solutions at IVM, part of my job. Also, though, but this is very interesting. It was very secretive for me who was going to be the guest. Okay, I had no idea. Your producer said to me, "Hey asshole, you're going to be on this episode on Friday." Is that how he talks to everyone? Firstly, this is very bad. Okay, Nikhil.
No, not to me.
No? Only to me. Okay, now I get it. Okay, cool, got it. So I am like extremely dumb. I've already missed what the topic is. The question is for today. So I am well out of my league here, and I'm excited to be on Explain Like I'm 10. So
yes. So now you can guess the topic.
Okay, now I can guess the topic.
Yeah.
Talking about journalism as a whole, like
yes.
Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Okay,
that is basically what the question.
I'm not as dumb, guys.
No. The question, Sakshi, and we can just start with you. Going right at it. What is journalism?
Oh my God. Aaj ki date mein this question is very difficult to answer because every other person is trying to tell us, no, dude, whatever journalism you have been doing is completely wrong. It is the new definition of journalism, and that is to stand with the government, never question them, never ever. Okay. So I think it is very difficult to define journalism. But what the thing is with me, that I really want to stick to my definition of journalism that I learned and I have been seeing, and that is to always question to those who are in power, and especially the central government, because they are the most powerful. And whoever it is, I don't care. I did that pre-2014 and I'm going to do that post-2014 no matter what. So that's my definition of journalism.
So truth to power is one definition that we have. Antariksh, what do you think? What is journalism?
What I think journalism is reporting on facts. It need not necessarily be opinionated. It should not be opinionated. It should be just giving out bare facts and let people form their opinions is what I feel. But again, I'm probably wrong.
No, you're actually close. You're actually correct. Like, because there are, as I said, there is no one answer to this. And Sakshi, you're absolutely right. Like the answer also changes with time sometimes. It's very bizarre how this happens, because I was just thinking, Sakshi, and you can maybe also talk about this a little bit, that, when I was growing up, as like maybe when my political awareness happened, it was sometime around, let's say, 2010, 2011, right? And that was when the Anna Hazare movement was going on, right? Where, like, UPA was going down, they were on their downfall, etc. One big person who was in my life was Arnab Goswami, right? He was, I think, according to me, the definition of a journalist back then, right? Because he was not only asking questions which you said were truth to power, but he was doing it very loudly and very brashly, right? And it was like he was channeling my anger through that screen, right? Do you agree with that sort of kind of journalism? Which, I mean, I am talking about old Arnab right now.
Yeah, old Arnab was somebody even we used to look up to. बहुत गाली पड़ती है सब चीजें सुनने के बाद अब, because but then I always tell people, see, you have to always look into everything back in the time. So yes, I don't mind saying that at that moment Arnab was a real journalist, but today when I look back, I see that probably he was cheating even then.
Okay.
So whatever he brought in front of us, whatever scams he was talking about, I think this was the real Arnab, and that back then, what he was bringing towards us was completely wrong, and we actually fell for it. Just like people today, there are many people who are falling for his fake stories, his loudness and everything today. So the same thing happened with us. So he has just switched his another side, but he has been fake, I think. I don't think that a person can ever change, Meghnad. His style may change, but his commitments, his ideology, his way of working should never change. But he has completely switched over. Now he's asking questions from the opposition. That moment he was asking questions from the government. So he has the ability of asking questions. But where to ask those questions, he has seen that according to the opportunity that he got. So I think he was
in a way, though, Sakshi, he hasn't changed, right? Because back then he was asking questions to the Congress. Now also he's asking questions to the Congress only. Like, same thing.
He hasn't changed.
How much do you guys think that Rahul Gandhi interview helped him make that transition to what he is now? The famous Rahul Gandhi interview.
So there were two, no? If I'm not wrong.
No, there was one, I think. There was one.
The one that Rahul Gandhi still gets trolled for.
See, Antariksh, I have a point in this. I always see when I look at myself, if I'm going to compare myself in 2022 with a journalist that I was in 2012, like 10 years ago, my maturity level has obviously gone up, right? And whatever I will be in 2032 will be different than what I'm today. So I think, yes, at that moment, Rahul Gandhi wasn't that mature politician like he is today. At that moment, he couldn't take up questions from Arnab Goswami. But today, I just dare Arnab Goswami to go and take his interview. I'm sure Arnab Goswami is not willing to take his interview now. Who is stopping him? He can easily go and take his interview, but who is stopping him? Because today Rahul Gandhi has been blatantly telling all these journalists everywhere in every press conference, taking up their questions without any written documents with him, that what they're going to ask him and what he's supposed to answer. He just tells them, you people are scared. So I don't think that he is going to be the same Rahul Gandhi today. So I think we should always judge a person, because today we are looking at Rahul Gandhi. Back then, yes, I don't think that he was mature enough as a politician, and he didn't know how to answer those questions, because at that moment, he was in that government where he didn't have any ministry, he wasn't in power, but he was that Yuvraj that people call him, right? But today he is trying to fight, being in the opposition. So I don't think that it will be fair to judge him today by what he was 10 years ago. As a mature person today, I think he is a better politician.
But I would think that back then, when he gave that interview, I don't remember the year when this happened. We can maybe fact check that
2014 only, I think, just before the election.
Actually, you're right. I think, around that
2014,
time,
right. But what I think is, back then, 2014 May, and you're right, Sakshi, like I guess he didn't have any media training because he thought he never needed it. And then suddenly he was in this place where someone is like asking supremely difficult questions to him and he had no answers. I would think that did damage him and created the current image, which is quote unquote Pappu image, right? Which everyone is like very gung ho about. Still, there are memes being circulated from that interview. So it was very, I think, damaging. But I don't want to get too much into like nitty-gritties of politics right now, because our broader question.
But what if, Meghnad, that was also planned? That is what I was trying to say about Arnab. He has not changed.
Sure.
Even then, he was trying to cheat us, So maybe that whole thing to create his image like that, and then before that have an interview like this, was all planned. That is what I'm trying to tell you.
I have personally no evidence of this, Sakshi. So
nobody
can't answer yes or no.
Nobody has, but then nobody has an evidence.
It makes sense. Arnab definitely had a narrative in mind.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm saying he definitely had a narrative in mind that he wanted to bring forth, and that's the sort of questions he asked, and then he doubled down on those questions that he kept asking.
But I would say,
slipped up,
I would kind of disagree with both of you there a little bit. Okay, one is I think Arnab was doing what Arnab does at that point. Basically questioning the Congress, and Rahul Gandhi mil gaya, so obviously he'll question him. And he is a good interviewer. Let's not get that wrong. Like, I give him all the credit for being a good interviewer, because even after that he has done some decent interviews also with after 2014. But again, I don't want to get too
until
much into
2017 when he had his own channel and he thought that he has to do something very different to come on the TRP #1 race. So until 2017, I think he was fine.
Sure, absolutely. But I want to come to the larger question, back to the larger question again. And I feel like this is actually a great instance of how the definition of journalism changes, right? If you call Arnab a journalist back then, right? Would you call him a journalist today? Is the question, right? And that is what I was coming to, which was, Sakshi, do you think there is a timeless definition of journalism that we can give?
See, journalism should not change. Journalism has, basic principles of journalism will never change. And person changes sometimes. Person, if you are a journalist, you should not change at all as a person as well, right? I just want to correct myself. Back then, I thought that Arnab was a journalist. Then today, I want to correct myself, saying that Arnab wasn't a journalist even then.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. But is there any journalist that you admire personally that you would like to mention?
Yeah, many of them. And अब मैं अगर देश के बाहर का नाम लूंगी, so people might say, oh, you won't like anyone from India. Let's just keep it here. I like many journalists who are doing good work. See, Meghnad, journalism, what different है? I like all those journalists who are working for the Hindu. I like all those journalists who are working for the Indian Express. I like all those people who are working for the Telegraph. I like all those people who are working for News Laundry. I like you, Meghnad, as a journalist. I like Ravish Kumar. I do like Rajdeep Sardesai. Sometimes I do differ with him, but then I respect him a lot. So there are so many journalists to always, look up to, because I know I have to keep learning from all those people. I have to just, make my choice. I don't have to fall for people like Arnab Goswami, who might get popular because of his, of him being loudmouth or showing fake stories. I don't want to. I had actually decided much in advance that, I just thought that I have to stick to my definition of journalism. So that was a fight that I was actually doing against people who were trying to, sway me away from the basic definition of journalism. I always told everybody, listen, I'm not, because if I change my definition today, then I would be saying the same thing for myself, what I'm saying it for Arnab. That I was something different pre-2014, but I'm different after 2014. So I can't do that, because then I would have done something really wrong and injustice with those who were in power in 2014. But I was questioning them even then. So why shouldn't I question those in power today? And I will keep doing that.
This is very interesting, Antariksh. So one thing I did, so what you gave, like the definition you gave, which was giving facts to people, right, and informing them, right, and that was actually one of the answers I got. So before this episode, what I did was I went to a few of my friends and I asked them the same question, like, what is journalism? And this amazes me sometimes, because if I ask a question like, what is liberalism, right, it's the same thing that you get like a plethora of answers. एक तो है कि मुझे लगा कि जर्नलिज्म के लिए तो एटलीस्ट एक डेफिनेशन आएगा कुछ तो, right? But no, I'll read out a few of those, okay? I'm reading out a few of the definitions I got. So one is, of course, which Sakshi says, which is journalism is holding truth to power, right? The second is it means questioning people in authority. It means questioning people in power, but also one more definition that came was it means questioning people that have more privilege in society. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that goes directly towards casteism and the religion that is in majority. So no, see, I think to an extent, but it can't be that you will not bring up issues of upper caste which are very genuine. Just say, how do I explain this to you? If there is a particular person from an upper caste community, he is utterly poor, he has issues, and he wants government to do something for him, why shouldn't I go and ask him?
Sure.
Why shouldn't I bring his his issues forward? So I think, but yes, those who are not in that privileged thing, who are not under that privilege, I think they should be shown more, and they should be given space. Because most of these crimes that that we are seeing today, not only crimes, even certain promotions that we are seeing today, the kind of space that people are getting in media, it also it is also based on their caste, many a times.
Of course, absolutely.
Yes, I do agree with this. So as you said, Meghnad, in the beginning, that there are different definitions, and so many definitions all together make up this journalism. There's another thing that I would like to add on to it, is like the definition of neutrality. People start saying you should be a neutral journalist. Yes, you should be a neutral journalist, but then what does neutral journalism mean? It just doesn't mean that I'm sitting here and whatever you are saying, I'm listening to you, whatever you are saying, I'm listening to you, and not doing any fact check on that, not even bringing forth those questions. किसी का घर जल रहा है और मैं खड़े होकर सिर्फ देख रही हूँ, trying to be neutral, that is not being neutral.
Yeah.
So if somebody is getting lynched and I'm keeping quiet, I'm not being neutral. Bilkis Bano's, rapists have been released. Keeping quiet is not being neutral.
But also, like, I feel like this term neutral and unbiased, etc., is thrown around a lot without really understanding what it means, right? I give this example all the time, right? So, Antariksh, do you remember during the pandemic, Barkha Dutt did this entire journey, right? So, interestingly enough, Sakshi has produced a documentary also during the pandemic. I think she was also out and about and doing it. Sakshi, it was called what? 1,000.
That was my husband's. Yeah, I was the producer.
You were the producer.
1232 kilometers. Yeah.
Yes. So I like, for example, what happened was there was this entire lockdown. Nobody was able to travel anywhere. Now, Barkha took her car, a driver and another assistant, and then she went on the road. Right now, if you had to think, she was doing quote unquote unbiased journalism by going on the street and talking to people, right? Which is like who were on migrants, right? The workers who were walking around, etc. But think about it this way, right? Like, if I say that, why didn't Barkha go to Lucknow? Why did she go to Maharashtra? What is the bias? What is the bias there? Why was she biased against Lucknow? Right? Or what if she was so biased for Bombay Road? Right? Was the highway better? Is she biased towards better highways? So I can throw around bias in whatever way I want, right? I don't think there is anything called unbiased in this world. Do you agree with that, Antariksh?
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Because anything unbiased for someone is biased for someone else, it would seem, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but do you have any more so the privilege question, right? Like what Sakshi was also saying. Do you want to add to that? Do you want to say anything about that?
I mean, not much. I live quite a privileged life myself. So, but
no,
absolutely,
listen, you don't have to lead a life which is not privileged to actually feel for them, right? So you can
absolutely, exactly, yeah. But absolutely, like part of being a journalism does come to questioning those who have the privilege to be questioned. It would seem, right? Like you have the privilege to be questioned because you have privilege. So. Yeah, that's definitely a part of it. I want to ask you, I've been thinking ever since one of the first things that comes to mind whenever I think of journalism is what is the current state of investigative journalism in India right now? I remember, okay, if I can highlight one, there was a very interesting article that Midday had done in the pandemic about these mask people who would catch people on the roads for not wearing masks. They were just hired individuals who and midday journalists had gone undercover to these organizations who are hiring these people to catch and basically scam people because people are not aware of the laws. And Midday had gone undercover. One of the journalists had gone undercover and gotten himself signed up as one of these mask tenders or whatever. And then he basically highlighted what all things they're catching people on, how they're doing it, why it's wrong. And that was a very interesting article. We'll actually talked about it on Cyrus Says back in the day when it had happened. So what is the current state of investigative journalism in India right now?
Sakshi, you want to ask me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. See, just like you mentioned Midday's article, I'm sure that there are many people are doing it, but then I think that only print media is doing it. The only issue today is that only print media is doing it. And when I, while I was referring to 2014, I remember all those sting operations जो होते थे, and then parliament में उठते थे, and then there used to be some kind of resignations somewhere. Today, there are only sting operations happening against the opposition. That is also another issue. I mean, investigative journalism is only left for the opposition today. So it's not that they can't do it. They can, but when it's only against certain leaders who are from any opposition party. Otherwise, I don't see any investigative journalism happening in any of the electronic media. But yes, print media is definitely doing it.
Cobra Post, I think, does a little bit, no? If I'm not wrong, I could be wrong.
Those sting operations, they do.
Sting operations,
yeah. But then I don't think that, if you just try and look back, I don't think that there have been many investigative reports in front of us. Because if that happens, obviously, you'll have to, ask so many people, so many questions. And then who is the channel who is going to give space to that? That Cobra Post thing or whoever's done that, who is going to ask those questions? That is the issue. They are not letting their own reporters do it. So why would they hire someone else to, show something which they can't? So
this is actually very important, right? Because this hiring part is also important. So Antariksh, also you have to understand the business logic behind this as well, which is what Sakshi says. Of course, there are political compulsions and whatever, but another factor is investigations are expensive. Like for example, this Midday thing you were talking about, right? So let's assume that this person infiltrated himself in this tribe of people with masks, etc., and was there for 5 days, right? And then was observing, etc. Took 2 more days to write the story. Then went to the editor. Now the editor took maybe 1 or 2 more days to edit the story. Then a graphics team came in which created the graphics. Then it went on paper. Then it went on whatever. But that time that the journalist took 7 days he wasn't able to do any other story. Right?
That's true.
For that 7 days, he was not able to give any other story to the newspaper, which is a daily newspaper, right? Which means that the per resource expense of that newspaper just blew up according to this one story, right? Then the editor was not able to edit any other story other than this for the 2 days, right? So investigative journalism, the thing is that it's expensive for news organizations to do, right? I would actually like to ask Sakshi this also, because you are a one woman operation. If you had to do like an investigative piece of journalism, is it even possible for you to do it? What are your thoughts on that? Like a deep dive investigation, right?
Not really, Meghnad, because even I have to work every day. Sometimes I do take, I do take breaks, but then I have to produce something on my channel almost every day.
Yeah.
So if I start doing something which takes so many days for me, my whole pattern will just go. I don't know what will happen to it, because my whole platform wants my followers to keep seeing what I'm showing them in in terms of news. So if I just disappear for a few days, so my page will just stop working, and my YouTube channel will not have any more subscribers, and I will not grow. So it is difficult for me. Had I been a complete, I had been a company or something like that, and I had so many people working for me, I could have thought about it. But then not being just single-handedly doing something for myself, I can't do it. I can't think of it.
And maybe that is one of the reasons why even many digital media are not able to do, like deep dive investigative journalism, right? So daily stories, everybody is able to do. Like, I give this one example, Sakshi, and I've been trying to teach this to like whoever wants to learn, I guess. But in Parliament now, there is this questions portal, which you go to the Parliament website and you search for questions. And even if you search like things like cows, goats, whatever, you will get thousands of answers that the government has given, right? Now, each of those answers can become one story, right? It will literally take me 15 minutes to write a daily story. If I was a daily beat reporter, it would literally take me, I'll go to the Parliament website, I'll search for something, because nobody is reading those questions, right? Nobody even knows that exists. So if you are a smart daily journalist, you can finish your job very quickly. But for an investigative journalist, that it becomes way more difficult, right?
Especially when you don't know what you're going to get in the end, whether you're going to get what you're actually looking for.
Absolutely.
That's also actually a very difficult thing to deal with, right? For long-term investigations. Like Caravan, for example. There have been so many instances where Caravan had to drop stories because they start with an assumption or a plan of a story. They work on it for like 15 days. But then it just ends up somewhere else, or it doesn't end up in a proper place, or there's no conclusion, there's no evidence, there are no facts, whatever it is. They just drop it. Which means 15 days of work completely wasted. And that happens. Sakshi, you were saying something? Sorry? Okay.
If I can ask one more question. If I can ask one more question. Would journalism be considered a dangerous profession? Because I've heard that a lot of journalists, and correct me if I'm wrong, get death threats and threatened in general. If they speak any truth to power, you are sure to get... Actually, even if you don't speak truth to power, the other side will give you death threats. Am I wrong in saying that?
That's also true.
True.
Sakshi, I'm pretty sure you'd receive your own set of...
Again, I understand this. I'm a comedian
I
in
have
Mumbai.
Stopped actually thinking about them now. I stopped thinking about them anymore.
Okay.
So I just don't pay attention. I just ignore. But yes, because of all those threats and those abuses and everything, I have just closed my messenger box on my Facebook page. So now nobody can do that. I have already been too democratic for them. So I just said, just get lost. I'm not going to listen to you anymore. And the Twitter page, I have switched off all those notifications from people I don't follow.
Yeah.
So I don't get to know what people are writing against me and for me. So and I only get to know about those replies from people who I follow. And obviously I don't follow any other person like that. Just like Modi ji, I don't follow any abusers. So I'm okay, right?
Yes.
So that way it's okay. So my life is really sorted after doing these two things. Rest of the things, I don't go and meet any other people. Any such people, any such person who would, directly give me a threat on my face. So I don't think, it's actually going to have any effect on me as of now. and dekhte phir aage kya hota hai.
Would you? Acha, let's put it differently. Let's put what he asked differently. If there is a young person who comes to you today and says that I want to be a journalist,
no,
would you advise them to be
I have already advised in the negative if to everybody in my family, all those children who wanted to pursue journalism, just looking at me and my husband, I said no, not happening.
Don't do it in India or don't do it in general. What would you
I've told them, see, I did tell them that you should be a journalist only if you get to write for New York Times, Washington Post, or CNN and all this. But then I know that journey is very difficult, right? So initially you'll have to start from here. So I have just said, there's no point. There is no journalism happening here. Look for some other career. Just don't look for journalism at all as a career. So yes, I have quickly said no towards it.
Sakshi, then no, I wanted to ask you the reasons why you gave this advice as well, right? What are the is there
because Meghnad, we don't have anything else to do. We have always been doing journalism, so we don't have anything else to do now. See, if you just look at yourself and if you want to do something else today, would you be able to do that? Once a journalist is always a journalist. You would try doing something else, but then everything you will look at that questionable thing will be there in your mind. Oh, why did he give me only this much money? Why? Yeah. You will keep questioning. You are a journalist forever.
Yeah.
So we can't do anything else. We have to be a journalist. However, but then they have an option. It's just the beginning of the career. Unko ki jhonko iske andar. So I don't think.
Absolutely, I agree. Like, so there is a.
What do you say, man? When someone asks you,
I would say that. So I advise. I mean, like Sakshi, I also tell them if you can help it, please don't, because, of course, it's dangerous now. And if you want to do journalism as per the definition that we have spoken about, which is holding truth to power, it is just naturally dangerous now, right? If you don't get death threats, you will definitely get trolled on Twitter the first time your story gets read by even 500 people. Like initially there was this standard ki, agar tumhara story viral jayega, to fir tumko gaali padegi, right? And I know, like, some people told me ki, tu journalist banna, because, your story will never be read anyway. You will write for a blog, which was News Laundry at some point, until my story went viral. Then everybody had a problem, right? And then everybody was like, oh, ye kya kar diya tune, fir gali, right? So it's also that, which is very strange, where people assume that if your work gets some attention is when it becomes dangerous. But that definition is also changing, because agar 500 logo ko bhi attention mil gaya, even that is dangerous now. Because those 500 people may say 20 people will come and give you death threats, right? And very visibly, right? Which will be then वो और 500 लोग उसको उड़ाएंगे, फिर और 1000 लोग उसको उड़ाएंगे. So I tell people, if you can help it, don't even indulge in journalism. But other than that, I also tell them, if you have to go to journalism, or if you are already a young journalist जिसने degree कर लिया, etc., I tell them to learn a new skill set. Right? For example, I would not consider Sakshi just a journalist, right? She's also a YouTuber. Right, sure. Because she learned the skills of editing, video, framing, all those things, which is not genuinely taught to journalists, right? Like in a regular journalism course. So I would say that Sakshi has learned an extra skill set, and therefore she is able to be a successful journalist or a known journalist. So right now we are in such a weird situation, no? Like, if you're a pure journalist, it doesn't work. You have to learn these additional skills to make yourself relevant and stand out. Otherwise, it's all pointless. So, why take that effort is also a question.
Antariksh, I'd like to ask you one thing. Yeah. See, your state, the stand-up comedian state and journalist state is no different today, right?
Yeah, it's very similar. So exactly. I totally relate.
Whatever happened with Mudabbar Farooqi, we've seen Veer Das episode. Would you suggest someone to become a stand-up comedian?
That's a good question.
The thing is, I would still tell them yes, because at least in stand-up, right, you can do non-political jokes. But I imagine in journalism, it is so hard to not get into politics as a journalist. How do you not report?
No, we have the entertainment field also.
Of course.
We can obviously go after Taimur and Jahangir and then tell them that what they're doing, what they're wearing.
But are those journalists respected? I don't think, are they respected? I don't know.
Again, Antariksh, that's what I was saying. Sakshi, this is very interesting. He's saying that as a stand-up comedian, he can afford not to do any political jokes, right? Whatever, non-political. So, हमारे भी तो journalist कहाँ political कुछ करते हैं आजकल, right? I mean, even now, it's like the kind of subjects that are coming are more on the, how do you put it? Then propaganda, right? It's pure propaganda to a large extent, and that is not political journalism at all, right? Political journalism for me would be, again, like going to like a minister and asking them, आपने GST के इतने rates बढ़ा दिए, why? What is the logic behind milk या घी में क्यों आप GST लगा रहे हो? That is a political journalism question, I would say, right? If you go to a minister and say, sir, आप सूर्य नमस्कार क्यों करते हो सुबह? That's not political journalism. You won't get into trouble for that garbage, right? So,
what do you think? What do you think of YouTubers like Akash Banerjee, the Deshbhakt, and to some extent Dhruv Rathi, and also now Sandesh Bhatia, right, doing Unfiltered. What do you think of these people? Like,
are they
journalists? They are doing superb work.
Are they journalists, and are they political journalists also? Right, they are definitely
satirists. And satire is a part of journalism. Yeah, it is a part of. See, you have that cartoon section. Cartoon is completely satire, and it's half journalism, half satire. You would not like a particular cartoon अगर उसमें satire नहीं होगा. So that's another way of telling your audience what sometimes when I write my scripts based on satire, it actually goes really viral. But then if I just try to tell them the exact news how it is, I don't think that they show any interest. So I think that people really want some kind of engagement, some kind of interest, some kind of involvement, and when it's a satire, they really relate to it well, because वो satire हमेशा बहुत ऐसा होता है, it just hits you at the right point at that moment. So and I think that they are journalists. Absolutely. And Akash was into mainstream media earlier. He was working with Headlines Today. I remember. I have still, his number saved as Akash Banerjee Headlines Today. So I know him since then. So
wow.
He was
he was also working with News Laundry briefly, and he created Bhakt Banerjee on News Laundry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He did this show called Why So Serious for News Laundry, and he created this persona of Bhakt Banerjee there. But
I do see him doing a show with News Laundry every New Year, right?
Yes.
That's
हाँ वो एक है. अब मेरा भी वैसा ही होगा. हर इंडिपेंडेंस डे जाके मैं भी शो करूंगा उनके साथ. But what is interesting is another answer that I got, which was I think on similar lines to what Antariksh asked, is journalism is about making citizens more aware of what is happening around them, the state of society, so that they can make better decisions, right? Not just personal ones, but even decisions with larger ramifications like voting and choosing leaders, right? So this is interesting, because if you are getting any kind of information which is making you take better decisions, right? I think that's journalism, right? Because what Akash is doing, or what Sakshi said when she writes her script as a satire, right? She's just making her information more effective and consumable, if that makes more sense, and more relatable also, which can be used by people and they're thinking about it, which makes them maybe take better decisions. So that,
and it's important, Meghnad. See, if you just see, if you want to see something which is based on stats and facts, right?
Yeah.
एक समय के बाद, when you start looking at those stats, and if it's just shown to you in a very boring way, you will get, disassociated with it, and you would not want to watch it further, right? So this news media, this visual media is something that people are looking at you, and you need to create that interest and engagement with them, right? How do you do that? Your facts, your stats should not become boring for them. You have to quote them, but then how to do that? So that that is where satire comes in. आपने एक बताया कि देखिए 80 रुपए का हो गया, मतलब जो है ना 80 रुपए हो गया है $1. आपने ये बताया, और फिर आपने एकदम से कुछ पुराना ऐसा कुछ बता दिया, so that you just try to tell them, जब वो 60 का था तो इन लोगों के लिए 60 रुपीस का महंगा होता था. 80 रुपीस is like lesser. तो ये हल्का सा satire ही हो गया ना, and then you're trying to tell them the facts also जो कि उनके दिमाग में रहेगा. So I think this is our duty. अगर हमने कोई ऐसी चीज बता दी which people are not able to grasp, there's no point. वो सारे stats बेकार हो जाते हैं. So that is what I really think. I know satire is very important there.
Yeah, you know my work. That is what I've been trying to do for the last 5 years, which is make information more consumable and fun to consume, right? And this is what this ELI10 is also about, right? Because if I had to do like just a one-on-one interview with Sakshi, for example, right? I would do it, right? And we would talk endlessly about journalism. But the reason why I got Antariksh, or like our union leader of spectators, as I call them, is because Antariksh...
And spectacles also.
And thanks, Antariksh, for that.
Yes, why
not? But if I got him because I know for a fact that he would end up asking very different questions than I would, right, to you. Like, he's not at all connected to what we do. So that's why I think he is way more important than I am while asking these questions right now.
Okay, so let me ask him. Antariksh, what do you feel when you see all these news channels today?
Yeah.
What do you feel? What do you feel about journalism? What do you feel about journalism when you see all these channels, and especially people like Arnab Goswami, Amish Devgan, and all these people?
Do you watch them though?
I don't. But whenever I have seen them, it's firstly a shouting match. And one of my first thoughts is they have too much time. I think it's the problem with the 24-hour channels. 24 hours, because 24 hours news dikhani hai. They have to bombard you with stupid news the entire day. That they have so much time to kill. Okay, now we will have a 10-minute shouting match about this also, then a 10-minute shouting match about this also, and then we'll do all the nonsense that we can. Then we have 1,000,001 ads in the middle, because they have so much time to fill. I feel like if they had like 5 hours to fill, right, it would be a lot more concentrated. They know what they have to get out of their the spokespeople they have on the show. They know what kind of information, what kind of questions to ask, and they won't be wasting as much time. Where the Arnab wouldn't have time to go on those rants, if you think about it, right? He has like an hour to kill. That's why he's ranting so much. He's not asking the questions, he's not giving people. So that's what I feel. What do you guys think of the 24-hour thing? I think that
you're right.
Also have a problem with that.
Absolutely, you're right. And what I was also going to add to that a little bit was, back when private news channels were not a thing, DD was the one that was there. They showed news, which was like 1 hour at 8 p.m., which was like this, not even 1 hour, half hour, I think, which was like at
sometimes it used to be 15 minutes also. And sometimes
wasn't it just a person like reading a monologue?
Yeah, it was a news
monologue, right? Yeah,
news reader, exactly. With like a tiny
my dad was one of them.
Oh, wow, yeah.
What,
he was a news reader. Yeah, he was a news reader back then.
But the interesting thing there, though, Antariksh, is that half an hour was always government-approved news.
Yeah.
Right? So basically, Kashmiri Pandit massacre, which happened, massacre, exodus, different people call it different things now. The exodus that happened, that was not covered because it was a government-controlled news time, And there was this, so Madhu Trehan, who is this veteran journalist, she had started this thing called News Track, which was like on VHS tapes. They used to record this 1 hour of news content. So they would spend a month doing like stories, going to places, shooting it, editing it, etc., putting it in VHS tapes. And then you could do a subscription where your VHS tape would come to your house. And then you can play it on a VCR once every month. So that is the only way you could escape government from controlling your news back then. Okay, so Sakshi, I wanted to also, you should also answer this question about 24-hour news channel, which Antariksh asked.
Yeah. I'm just trying to, look back before 2014 again. And when I started, because I started with that 24-hour news channel thing.
Yeah.
So I remember.
Which year did you start as a
2005.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah. So I remember that there were certain stories which really needed a lot of time. And some kind of campaign was created for them, and there was some kind of justice that we could see happening, some kind of action, some impact, and for that I think that long duration was like really important.
True.
Yeah.
right? So you can relate to it, right, Meghnad?
Yeah.
There was this story I remember. I think that was Star News who did something about this story. Then they just picked up a video that was quite viral on the internet. Today we use the word viral. Back then viral जैसा कोई word नहीं पता था किसी को, but that was like very popular on internet. जैसे आप देखते हैं कि porn sites पे चला जाता है. And that was a rape video, gang rape video.
Okay.
Nobody knew who that girl was. Nobody knew how old that video was. Nobody knew about the which state it belonged to. And was there any kind of action in that video, in that incident? Nobody knew anything about this. But they just thought that, okay, this thing has happened. It has happened somewhere. We know that. We should bring this up and we can see the culprits' faces. तो वो जैसे होता ना गोले लगा के still करके they started showing their faces. उनके फेस देखे गए, वो लोग पहचाने गए, वो लड़की सामने आई, एंड देन वी गॉट टू नो कि वो एक्चुअल में उसके बारे में कुछ नहीं हुआ था. दैट गर्ल आल्सो डिडंट स्पीक अप बिकॉज़ उसको लगा कि वही जो होता है दैट यू डोंट वांट टू एंड अगेंस्ट द सोसाइटी एंड व्हाटएवर, एंड शी डिडंट डू दैट, एंड दोस पीपल वर जेल्ड. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that is.
So this couldn't have happened had there been no 24-hour
24/7. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Prince story was very interesting, Antariksh. Do you remember Prince story? Or do you
that was also in 2005, I think.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I'll just tell you. So there was this story. I think 2005 only, right? You're Sakshi. So I remember this very vaguely. I was also young. There was this child who had fallen into a borewell. Right. So this borewells in farmland, and he was like a very thin. I think a very like 8-year-old child, 7-year-old child.
Oh, I know this. Yes, I remember this. Yeah.
He had fallen into a borewell, and because of 24/7 news, because there was like this crew. I don't remember which channel picked it up first. I think it was Aaj Tak, if I'm not wrong.
Or maybe Z News.
Or maybe Z News. One of them. They picked it up and they started reporting on it and didn't let go. Right, and then other news channels also started coming. And then everybody was watching it, right? The child is inside, the child is inside. And the story was this, which is like literally journalists going and pointing at the borewell. Iske andar bachcha hai, iske andar bachcha hai. They did it for, literally, I remember they did it for days until the people came and saved them. Right? And even the rescue operation was intense. I think it took, like some 3-4 days.
3-4 days, yeah.
24/7 they were running the story, right? From journalists pointing at the thing to the rescue of the child, where I think they had to dig out the borewell a lot as well, and then they pulled out the kid. I think that was one of the first instances that anybody gives you for why 24/7 news is important, right? The other second example that will come is 26/11.
Yes.
I think, the parliament attack.
But media was very immature then, Meghnad. The way they covered it was like really bad, and they didn't know how to do that.
Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Because I think that's a great insight.
Because I remember, at that moment, all these channels had no idea, because something like this happened in front of them for the first time when they were 24/7, and something like this is happening, and they all understand that this is something that needs to be covered because people want to see it. तो वो इतना 24/7 हो गया था. The way they were reporting, they were not understanding, your live footage can actually show the terrorists, because they were watching news channels. All the terrorists were sitting and watching news channels at that moment, and they could easily see where somebody is coming out from. I think all this thing has been covered in many 26/11 films that we have seen after that, and they could see everything. They could know about everything. And that is when government had given the guidelines that you should not, in between the 26/11 thing, when the rescue was happening, they said that nobody should be going live. You should go deferred. You should, it should be at least like 10 to 15 minutes delayed. So that's how people started understanding. But the way they covered it, I don't think, yes, it was something very new for us. But वो 24/7 channel की वजह से many people had made that particular spot as a picnic spot. They had gone to Taj and going and seeing, okay, बच्चों को दिखाने लाया है, बैठा के अपने कंधे पे, okay, ऐसे हो रहा है. मतलब just imagine. So that was all.
It was scary. Also. It was scary. I had a friend who was living on like this hostel somewhere around Marine Drive, right? And she was describing it to me. It was so scary because for 3 days she could hear like noises of guns and everything, because Taj was right there, and there was constant firing and whatever. But also, other than that, there was constantly this in Marathi we call it Jatra, right? Which is like this crowd of people which Sakshi described, trying to find गली से अंदर आके उधर पहुंचने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, right? And then the police was always like, boss तुम बाहर जाओ. But then there were also like these people who came to see like a Barkha Dutt reporting, or they came to see like a Arnab Goswami, because Arnab Goswami was live. Arnab Goswami also became a thing because of 2611, because he was the one who I think spent like some ridiculous 32 hours constantly on air. Right?
Must have.
He was constantly on air. He didn't take a single break, or he took short breaks, but he just went on and on and on and on, and it was crazy to watch that, right? So again, like good and bad both comes from.
But even Nirbhaya, just see, we wouldn't have seen any justice happening to Nirbhaya had there been no 24/7, news channel.
But the opposite of that would be like, I don't know if was 24 hours news already a thing during the Monkey Man thing when this was going on, the mass hysteria that the news.
I think so. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that's the opposite of it, right? Like, because mass hysteria can also spread because of this.
So see, here is the duty of the news channels come in. No, you have to choose what you have to show so that there is no mass hysteria. People are not panicking. People are making a picnic spot out of a terrorist spot. So you have to decide how to do that, because we have actually pointed out all the pros and cons. And there are good stuff also that has happened because of 24/7 news channels. So I don't think we should blame that, but yes, we have to decide. And today, all the editors are not deciding it, well, and they're just not thinking about what kind of hatred, what kind of poison it is creating in the society. That is where I have issues with it. I don't have any issues with these channels, because these are the same channels that we have come from, but they are not working in the same way that it used to, and it should have. So they should make themselves better and improve themselves rather deteriorating themselves.
So if I can ask you guys a hypothetical, what do you think would happen if a reporter who is currently, say, a right-wing reporter, say an Arnab, tomorrow decides, okay, there is this one new scheme that the government has come up with, I'm highly against, and I should speak out against that. Do you think that's ever possible?
That actually. Yeah, he has done that. Like, I think he was.
And does he face backlash?
In Assam, when there was this CA prototype happening, I think Arnab was actually doing anti-CA stories.
Because he comes from Assam.
Because he's from Assam. So that comes into play also, right? Because
घर भी तो वापस जाना है ना, Meghnad.
Also, and that's where we say that there is no such thing as an unbiased person. I mean, journalists, but chhodi do. There is no unbiased person also, because jahan pe it's also about self-interest and identity, and what people around you are also saying. Your views can also change, right? And then your journalism, quote unquote, also changes, right? But
just imagine, in all these 8 years, you could quote only one story that Arnab has done, and that was for Assam, from a place where he comes from.
Oh, God.
I'm thinking hard, okay? Sakshi, I'm thinking hard.
Please do that, huh?
But would these people get into trouble? If they do speak to power on any one occasion also, would they get in trouble with the powers that be?
See, I don't...
I don't think it's not like anyone is telling them what to do. There is this big notion, of course, there are like meetings that happen where, like they meet like very influential people, and there is certain talks that happen about what is going on in the world, and there are certain points that are exchanged about worldviews, etc. So it's a worldview matching meeting, more or less, right? On a day-to-day basis, it rarely, I think, happens where someone is calling someone and then telling them कि आज तुमको news में ये करना है और ये stand देना है, whatever. But what happens is, after a point, people who are towing the government line or even promoting their stuff get the advantages that others don't, right? And one of the things is access. Sakshi can never get access to a government minister. I can write this down, right?
Never. Government minister, not even a single spokesperson will ever come to my channel.
Exactly.
And not Sakshi, even a spokesperson. Yeah. No, I have actually stopped trying. I don't try only. I know nothing will happen, so there's no point.
So now it has come to a stage where access is limited, right? So access to government is very limited for people who do not toe the government, right? So I mean, Sakshi will go to the ground and do her journalism, etc. But at the end of the day, her process will be completed only when she asks this person's question to the person in power, right?
Yeah.
But then that half is remaining, right? That half में कुछ नहीं आ रहा है वहाँ से.
So that is what they're trying to do, no, Meghnad? They know that our story stays, incomplete. Our debate shows will stay incomplete if there is not a single person from, actually representing the government. So that is what they're trying to do with us. That हम तो तुम्हारे यहाँ पे नहीं आएंगे. But what happens is that the whole opposition wants to go on these mainstream news channels.
Exactly.
And give relevance to these people. That is what we keep questioning. See, आप अगर नहीं जाओगे, how will they be able to do or conduct all those debates? Because they need a voice. वो भले ही उसको झाड़ना है उनको. They don't want to listen to that person. They always want to blame that person. But still, they want somebody sitting there just to say, see, okay, we might have like 4 right-wingers, but we do have one opposition voice also. If one person is not going, they will not be able to conduct all the debates. But then these people just don't want to listen. They just want to just always go and appear on these news channels. So what do you do about that?
Yeah. I have to end this podcast, but before that, I wanted you audience and you, the union leader of spectators, something to think about. I'm a big fan of Noam Chomsky's theory of manufacturing consent. Okay. So what it says is, so when I was giving you this definition of, journalism is supposed to inform you and help you make better decisions, right? Which means that when you are doing something, you are essentially giving consent, right? So for example, if you think you're informed, you are taking an informed decision by voting for someone, you're giving them consent to come to power, right? What Noam Chomsky says is that free media is non-existent. There is no such thing as free will where you can, you can give your consent. Right? It is always about manufacturing consent. So the owners, the people who control the media, and the people who advertise on the media, and also the rich and the powerful in privileged positions, they are the ones who are running a circus which manufactures your consent according to what they want. Right? And that is, I think, one very mind-blowing theory that I read years ago. Right? And I think it's very important to point out that journalism, as you know it, is not what you see today mostly. I would say that mostly. Journalism is, just in simple words, it is anti-establishment. Right? Whoever is in the establishment, you are against that establishment and you are questioning the establishment. Is that a good definition to end with, Sakshi, or you want to give a better definition?
I actually lost the plot, huh?
Wow, you are a true new age journalist, huh? Pura ADHD ho gaya.
No, it's cool, man. I was looking up who Noam Chomsky is. No, I'm joking.
No, but what I was asking.
Okay, whatever I understood was that there is no free media, right?
There is no free media.
Done. Let's end at that. There is no free media, guys.
Yeah, so there's no free media. Sorry for my bad attention span. Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
So,
we humanize you, Sakshi.
Sorry?
We humanize you. This podcast humanizes you.
My God.
Go on.
यार इतना पता है टाइम ही नहीं so sorry. You know what I understood was, और बीच में थोड़ा सा इंटरनेट भी चला गया था, थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम था, so I just could not understand the whole sentence that you said. I think you meant there is no free media, right?
No, I was asking you. So, like I gave the definition that journalism is basically anti-establishment, which is questioning the establishment. That is the definition I consider as what is journalism. Is there any other definition that you would like to end with?
That I'd like to end with?
Yeah.
In today's perspective, which I never thought that I would be getting those comments from people, but then today I do realize when they start explaining it to me why they're saying that. They tell me I'm very happy to see your courageous journalism. So I'm like, what do you mean by courageous journalism? I have done what I had to. I mean, this is my job. This is my duty. I had to do this. I had to, show you the facts, and you just find it courageous. Why do you find it courageous? So they tell me because nobody else is, ready to do something like this. So in today's time, I think doing journalism and the right kind of journalism that you mentioned is actually courageous. So there is another definition. Yeah.
I would add to that, अभी ना बार इतना लो हो गया है ना, तुम ना एक क्वेश्चन पूछ लो ना कोई मिनिस्टर को, क्या जर्नलिस्ट है, क्या अमेजिंग आदमी है, क्या क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया बॉस, मतलब इतना नॉर्मलाइज हो गया ना क्वेश्चन.
Journalists should be the endorsers of thumbs up. They should be the brand ambassador. डर के आगे जीत है.
मिनिस्टर तो बहुत दूर की बात है मेघनाथ. कोई भी एक बीजेपी का कोई ऐसा स्पोक्स पर्सन जो शायद किसी दूसरे चैनल पे भी ना जाए, वो वहां आए हुए हैं, उनको भी if you just ask a normal factual question, people are like, wow, what a journalist. I'm like,
what a journalism.
What a journalism. So that's when I realized, because I kept telling them, listen, I have not done anything great, please don't praise me for asking a very genuine and a basic question. This is my basic work. So they're like, no, nobody's doing this today. So then I realized, okay, they're also not wrong. So I think just to add up, in today's time, in 2022, I think courageous journalism is something which is a new thing that I'm seeing.
Yes. Antariksh, any closing thoughts? What did you learn today?
I learned that Sakshi is a very courageous journalist, firstly.
Yes.
Which is, thank you for having me on with this brave soul amongst us.
I hope that's a compliment. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Coming from a stand-up comedian, it's like,
No, absolutely. I'm just...
Was it sarcasm? Was it?
No, not at all. This is 100% facts. I'm just...
God.
I learned quite a lot, and this is extremely interesting. I had no idea that we'll be talking about journalism today. And I especially liked that part about why investigative journalism is dying. And it's very sad, but maybe talking about it makes it something that can come back in the future, because the more people talk about it, how we are missing investigative journalism, there'll be more money that can be raised probably by news channels and news outlets, and hence we can come back to a state where more and better investigative journalism is happening.
Absolutely.
So, thank you so much, Sakshi.
Thank you so much, Sakshi.
Thanks, Meghnad.
Yes.
Thanks for having us, Meghnad. Yes.
Sab log thank you ho gaya.
And thanks, Kshitij.
Thanks, Kshitij, for the sound.
Thank you.
Nikhil. Yeah. Nikhil, I'm on to you.
See you. मुझे closing line तो करने दो, guys.
कर लो यार, कर लो. Wow. Courageous line.
Courageous line. What a courageous podcast.
Courageous podcast.
Yeah.
Guys, please continue watching this very courageous podcast called ELI10. If you have any questions that you want me to ask people like Sakshi, and our union leader of spectators will also be there to ask questions that I don't. What?
And spectacles.
Antariksh, मेरा closing line कितने बार खराब करेगा? रुक जा तू, Cyrus थोड़ी है ये.
Hey man, I'm new to this. I'm not a journalist.
It's like, Meghnad, it happens with us news anchors. वो EP लगा होता है, you're saying something and बीच में अरे फोनो ले लो. I'm like, बाद में नहीं बोल सकते हो.
Okay. Annoying union leader of spectators will also be there to do annoying things like he just did and ask questions that I can't ask, which you just saw. Please write to me on @me_Meghnad. My DMs are open. Or you can email me on meghnad@pratilipi.in. Or where can people reach you, Sakshi, to ask you questions?
Nowhere. I have closed everything, okay?
Yes. She's not making questions anymore, okay?
Not taking it. Yes. I'm learning from Modi ji. No questions entertained. I'm sorry.
Well done. उसके YouTube comments पे भी मत जाओ तुम लोग. यहाँ पे
comments जा सकते हो जो मैं देखती हूँ.
Yeah. If you have legit questions for Sakshi, I will pass it on to her.
I have my email address, and that is already given on my Facebook page.
Right.
So that's a long one, so it's okay. So people can just go and like my Facebook page, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and then mail me.
Yes. And Antariksh, where can people reach you?
Firstly, they can listen to me on the Cyrus Says podcast and on the IVM Likes podcast. And you can follow me on Instagram. Please reach out, say hi, come to my live shows. Have a good time.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next episode.
Yes, and Meghnad's DMs are open, okay? Do remember that.
Very much.